Hello, beautiful YouTube. It is Emily. I hope you're having a wondrous minute, hour, day, week, month. Today, I have some tips about clairvoyance, and I want to go over how you can lose your clairvoyance, and the same way you can lose it is also how you can get more of it. So this is what was coming through today that needed to be shared. So I'm really excited to share this. Okay, so the gift of clairvoyance is a gift that has not come naturally for me, Emily. When I was in PhD school and art school, my primary way that I would communicate with the muses, you could say, was through listening. And I've always been deeply clairaudient and clairsentient. So those two come much more naturally to me. In 2019, when I had a Kundalini, I guess we'll call it rising, it was a Kundalini rising that was an incomplete rising. Okay, so a lot of people are having incomplete risings because a lot of us don't live in Tibet studying Kundalini science for 20 years, and we're not in the presence of awakened masters and sages when our Kundalini awakens, and we're not prepared, because the preparation is really important. And so many people are having these either pranatana events, okay, these are just like heightened movements of prana, or two, true Kundalini awakenings that then don't fully complete themselves all the way up here in Sahasrara, in your crown. So for me, I remember that day, the Kundalini coming up, getting past my heart and like kind of right here, just having like a huge explosion is the best way to put it. And if anybody's had one, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so Kundalini will then, it's almost like, it's like the essence of everything. It's like the consciousness of your body will raise and lift, and you may suddenly have gifts that you haven't had before. Okay, one of the gifts that I had initially when my Kundalini awoken was a type of clairvoyance that Emily, had never really experienced before. And so if you have an improper rising, or a partial rising is what they call it, then you might go into what is called Kundalini syndrome. Okay, I'm gonna do another video on what Kundalini syndrome is and how to ease it within your mind and your body and your heart and your soul and your spirit. But that will be for a later time. Okay, so you can feel out of control if you suddenly have a new sense that you've never had. And in my case, with everything that was going on, it really was taxing on my nervous system. So okay, so here we go. So we're talking about clairvoyancy. Okay, so number one thing, ways you could lose your gift of sight. If seeing is too disrupting to your constitution, right? The elemental balance, we talk about the doshas in sort of the Vedic principles. So the doshas are like the elements of your body. This is what makes up your constitution. So if having vision becomes too overwhelming to your actual constitution, so this means that what you're seeing is scaring you, or if you're just not ready to see really ugly things and really sad and disheartening and disturbing things, and if seeing those things is like really throwing you off kilter, and I keep looking down because I made notes, then your guardian angel and your spirit guides may choose to put a block in your third eye to make it so that you can more easily and gracefully integrate and assimilate what is happening for you. Okay, now, if you do get ready to see some disturbing things, it's important for you to realize that there are things that just do not look like humans, and that doesn't necessarily make those things, we'll call it negative polarity things. And there are some things that you will see that you can kind of like test the essence of them. For example, once I met this, what appeared as a person in a dream space, but when I reached out and touched their arm turned into like a black dead twig. And so that's a way that you could discern and gain information about what you're interacting with. And it's very, very important to know, like with all gifts that come from God Source Divine, there is an initiation period. And so my goal of going through all of these things is so that you will be aware of how to go through the initiations of clairvoyancy with a lot of ease and a lot of grace, and with some assistance and help, because it really is helpful when you kind of understand what's going on. Okay, so the second way you could lose your gift of sight is if you speak about what you are seeing to people who, it's like when Yeshua the Nazarene said, don't cast pearls before swine. Okay, if you start speaking about things that you're seeing with people who are going to call you crazy or are going to, talk shit behind your back, or are going to just not be open and able to hold the frequency and resonance of your experience, then that creates kind of like a blowback or a backfiring event. And that can be another reason you lose your sight. Okay, so to review, number one, you could lose your sight if what you see scares you or you're not ready and prepared to see scary, ugly, disturbing things. Two, you could lose your sight if you speak about what you're seeing in non-discerning ways to people who cannot hold your experience. Okay? Three, you can lose your sight if you lie about what you see. So the goal of a clairvoyant is to communicate as clearly and with equanimity what is the vision. So if you change what you see, if you leave something out that you did see, if you add something in that you didn't see, or if you say you saw more than you actually saw, okay, all of these things will make it so that you won't necessarily lose your gift of sight, but what will happen is you will start attuning yourself to the delusional sight realm. Because the thing about having the gift of sight is you can have clear seeing, or you can be stuck in like the astral realm and you can be seeing through the astrals. And my dear friend Bethany, she has the gift of sight, and she calls it the colorless light. This very like higher octave seeing that, and I think she gets that from the Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads or somewhere in that area of understanding how to discern what you're seeing clearly. So I have another video here, I don't know, a couple months ago. It's about getting lost in the astrals and how to not do that. This is like a very easy mistake to make for anybody who is having a spontaneous Kundalini awakening without any training or preparation, or just isn't prepared and ready for the experience of multidimensionality and gets it too soon. Okay, so again, If you're not ready to see things that are disturbing, if you're undiscerning about who you speak about your visions with, or if you are unable to just simply, precisely relay exactly what it is you're seeing in the most truthful way to the best of your vision and ability. And this is without you providing personal translation, interpretation, unless it's a scenario where you're like doing a healing and, you know, someone has come to you to receive your expert interpretation, etc. But in general, it's just, the gift of clairvoyance is just about clear sight, clear vision. Okay. So the fourth way you can lose your sight is if you do harm with what you see. So if you are a seer and you start manipulating reality in ways that are harmful with the information that you're able to receive, if you attempt to distort reality in any way that isn't aligned to God Source Creator's free will choice, and this even means healing, okay? So healing without permission is, and I will say sometimes, allowed. So I would say most of the time you need permission to do a healing for someone. And as somebody who has learned to keep a very clear and open and tight boundaried inner circle, you don't want to be healing things that are not yours to heal. And healing something for someone when they still have a karmic debt, and healing it before they've truly paid their karmic debt. And because all healing really comes from within, right? The healer is not really doing the healing. If it's a true healing, it's coming directly from God Source Creator. So, you know, don't try to manipulate reality in any way with what you're seeing or doing. And just allow yourself to be the seer, the witness. And again, this is harm. So you can change things for the better, but you do have an initiation and a discernment to learn and understand the ways in which it is best to go about that. Okay. Now, the fifth reason you could lose your clairvoyancy is if you are undergoing a certain type of initiation that requires you to move through the realms differently than you are accustomed or used to. So you can actually have a temporary amplification or sharpening of your other senses happening. So you might be in a part in your initiation of your light body where it's time for you to really hone your clairsentience or your claircognizance or your clairaudience. And so if you're just really used to relying on this one sense and some other part of you is now become underdeveloped, that can be a reason that you can not lose your gift of sight, but have it not showing up as frequently, as often, as much. Okay. The sixth way that you could lose your gift of sight is if you do evil acts or evil deeds, okay? I don't really love the word evil because what evil is a very, very deep unconsciousness to the true spiritual reality of oneness, wholeness, and the gift of God Source Creator's love, peace, and truth. But if you do deeply unconscious things, if you're practicing black magic or dark arts of any kind, okay, in the new Earth Aquarian frequency, you will lose your sight. So it is. If you take ownership, okay, this is the next one, 7. Let's review. Okay, 1, if seeing things that are too disrupting and scary and ugly and disturbing is going to be something that you cannot handle in your emotional and nervous system, then your guides are going to help you lose your sight temporarily. Okay, if you are unable to discern who you share your visions with, and you're just out there casting pearls before swine, so to speak, and you're not discerning with what you're being shown, then you may lose your gift of sight. If you lie at all or just change the truth of what you're seeing in any way, you may lose your sight. If you do harm with what you see and try to manipulate reality in ways that distort some other person's perception, or you try to, trickster things, okay? This is like trickster energy. If you're doing any of that business, you're gonna lose your sight. 5, if you're undergoing a certain initiation where that is part of what you need at this moment, say you have a weak and underdeveloped emotional body, and you need to learn to be more empathic, and your guides are like, okay, this person needs to learn how to feel. I'm thinking specifically if you're going through a relational, if the relationships in your life have just continually crumbled, maybe that would be like a scenario where you need to develop more clairsentience, for example. Okay. 6, if you do evil acts or evil deeds, okay, if you're doing things that are deeply unconscious, you will be losing your sight in this new age. Okay, if you take ownership of your visions and you're like, oh, those are my visions. It's like, no, those are just God's gifts. They're just clairvoyance gifts from Father, Mother, Godhead, God source. Visions are only ever received as gifts. And these visions are for you to assist your own journey and to assist others on their journey. And so, and for me, they're unpredictable. You really never know where you'll be or when a vision will just happen. My vision is, and always has been since it awoken, something that is outside of me. So, a lot of people talk about how they have and I do have dream time vision where at night I dream in my mind, but my vision is more, I see things appear in reality. For example, the other night waking up from a dream, there was a floating shelf of books, really thick books. And I woke up, came into full consciousness, and they just stayed there glowing. And then they evaporated, so that was a thing that was just personal for me. It was part of what was going on for my unique journey. Or for example, the other day I was sitting in front of a piece of art that I'm working on and really pondering okay, what's the next move here? What needs to happen? And all of a sudden I saw all these gold shimmery waves just wash over this piece of art, and I was like, oh, thank you. That is exactly what the next move is. So things like that. Okay. Now, 8, the 8th reason you could lose your gift of sight is if you are unable to accurately discern and know that everything you see is not real. So this one's hard. This one is initiate level. So this is your ability to recognize that seeing and seers are not always accurate, and that the things that you see are not always true. And so this is a process of you learning to discern your visions. And things that will actually really impact this is watching a lot of Netflix, TV, entertainment, series, video, or playing a lot of video games. Okay, if you're taking in through your third eye and eyes, your sight faculty, a lot of produced entertainment, okay, this will alter your ability to see that clear, colorless light, okay, not get trapped in the astrals. And some people spend an entire lifetime being stuck and trapped in the astrals. Some people spend a decade, some people spend a few years. I mean, it's really something to be able to have this deep, it comes from the heart. It's like when your heart sees. And also drug use, okay? And this does include plant spirits, medicines, psychedelics. If you're doing these things in unbalanced ways too often, too frequently, that this will throw off your, again, constitution. Okay, so if we're going through a Kundalini science realm, we would say the Rajas, the Tejas, and the Sattvic. So Tamas, Rajas, and Sattvic. Sattvic is like pure balance. So if you throw your sattva out of balance and you're either in Tejas or Rajas, which is like either too much fire, too much activity, too much energy, or too not enough. If you throw your energetic light body field out of balance, and trauma can do this too, then that can make it so that you're either seeing things that are not real, or you're seeing things that are simply coming in with some type of distortion. Also, if you're like a super judgmental person, okay, and you're just in a state of like judgment, that can also throw off what you see and the seeing of clear divine source templating. Okay, and another thing is engaging in things that just keep your consciousness low. Okay, so like these are like 7 sin things. If you're just like a glutton, or if you're just lusting and having all this sex, or if you're coveting and wanting things you don't have, or if you're in greed, or if you're extremely prideful and arrogant, or if like any of these things will also distort. Okay, the next one, number 9, is not understanding your spiritual sovereignty. Okay? So this is having both internal and external boundaries. So having boundaries with the spirit realm and having boundaries with the outside world. And doing the daily energetic hygiene and cleansing, spiritual hygiene and cleansing daily, in order to become that instrument that is finely tuned. So, for example, say that a ghost comes to you in the middle of the night and wakes you up from your sleep and is like, hey, I need you to deliver a message to this person. Okay? No ghost should be waking you up in the middle of the night and like interrupting your rest or your sacred work that you're doing on the higher planes. Okay? That would be an example. Or say you're out at the grocery store and you're just shopping, and all of a sudden you pass somebody and you realize that that person is very sick and they have a disease. And you're like, that person's angel or spirit guide is like, can you please tell this person that they're sick? Okay, maybe it would be correct to do that, but I would say most of the time that's just like you're able to see, so you're seeing things, but you have no business assisting in that instance unless you do. And that is always for your own discernment. And if you do see something disturbing, you can always ask, why am I seeing this? Like that's always a first thing to do, is just be like, okay, why am I seeing this? Is there anything for me to do with what I'm seeing? And this will be a really good first step if you just see something that is, we'll just say, out of the ordinary. Okay. And then the final way or reason that you could lose your sight is if you do have a Kundalini awakening and you get that initial life-changing connection to that energetic reality's potent stream. It's like hard to even put into words. If your consciousness raises, like, you take a balloon, you blow it up and you blow up this balloon, but then it's going to shrink back down. It's never going to shrink back down to what it was originally, right? But this is kind of the way that spiritual initiation works, is you have to, you want to do it balanced. You want these expansions and contractions to be really small, really subtle, so that your consciousness is just going like this. What you do not necessarily want is some huge consciousness expansion that you're not prepared or ready for, because the contraction of that is going to be really painful and really difficult. And I can speak that from experience. And so my goal really is to help anybody who's going through an awakening do it in a way that is soft and gentle and easeful and is filled with deep alignment to the heart field, integrity, and what the ancient philosophers spoke of, which is beauty, truth, and goodness. Because this world needs more beauty, truth, and goodness. And we've lost morality in this realm. I mean, this realm has really become an unmoral place in many cases. And we're just born into these systems culturally. And we don't even have true, many of us grow up our entire lives without a true understanding of the spiritual realms. And that's sad, because it's like what I said in my TEDx talk, when we're missing the spiritual dimension of life, it's like missing the drum beat in a good song. You're actually missing something foundational when you're just living your life without connection to and interaction with the divine realms. And it's that connection that can bring us all back into balance. And yeah, it's my hope for as many people as possible to just have a really easy awakening. And I'm feeling if there's anything left for me to share. Okay, we'll do a light code for the opening and the protection of the third eye. And I, Emily, am going to set the intention, because this is going in a public space, that this is only for those people who it is divinely aligned to receive. And for anyone where it's not divinely aligned at this time, may it be divinely aligned at another time, or plant a energetic seed that could blossom as and along with the heart. Okay, that'll be the intention. Mia suena aishwasa. Yasuena aishwa swataka ash nasataka ash was ash is wash. Wash samash wisha swish. Swash wash swish swaswi nakais shwitash wana shwash. Misadarai shwitadarai shitadarai quietatai yum 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 yai uya. Shuya nananaya shwana saya tu rasha samanaya quenataya. Tianununeshwa se kianatawa shaswina sase tioarasha samonone sianoke nuke wasuya shwae Shuyana tuara minakaya sundaro shundaro siano tuenakai sai sight 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 I hitora shunukuru yamwema amweswena ashwana shwikuyo swina shwashwana santarare shantu kusha santu rushu sundu huya Agnyat sotukushkushk santukushkask eshk ask eshk ushk antaka ashk eshk uwa ataka ashk eshk ush ashuntukush asanta I luhintaka ash siao suntu hrushk masanta ke esh wasanta tukush asantukushusanta ke esh wasanta Hiso tukushusu miasataka ash. Okay, how's everybody doing out there? I think the last time I talked, or maybe it was the time before, I went to Iceland. It was phenomenal. The weather forecast was really making me feel like maybe I booked this trip to Iceland and I'm not going to see the Northern Lights, but I was there for 8 days and I was able to see Northern Lights 5 of the nights. And the very first night we got there, we're driving to this cabin in the middle of Akureyri is actually, I say Akureyri, yeah. And it's like snowing and there's clouds all over. I'm thinking there's no chance we're going to see the lights. And we get to our cabin and there was just a perfect dome, just like a dome over our cabin. Clear sky, could see the stars. And that very first night, I got the most beautiful Aurora Borealis show. And then I was like, took the pressure off. It's like, oh, we saw them. And then they just kept coming. And the whole time we were really up north, there was just like this dome around the cabin. And I have to actually credit this to a group of friends that I weave light codes with, because one of the guys in there, he's like a weatherman, like a new earth weatherman kind of thing. And I definitely felt that the work that group did, the prayers they sent really worked. So it was beautiful to see how they dance and move, and they do different things. They swirl, the very first one I ever saw actually looked kind of like a tornado, but one side of it was green and one side of it was pink. And they were just merged together, but like coming down like this and meeting the earth. It was actually, part of the geomagnetic field when you get really far north is part of what does this, along with the solar currents and the electromagnetic storming. So anyways, it was really cool. And then one night we went out to a beach, and it's fun to see the Northern Lights when you're near any water because they reflect on the water. It was a big full moon in the sky, and suddenly this green swirl started happening, and suddenly there was this giant green dragon just like in the sky. And that was another really fun thing about seeing the Northern Lights is, you can like see angels, you could see interdimensional beings appear. They really take like forms. You can see dragons, you can see fairies, unicorns. I mean, they really dance, and the energy that you feel from them is so soft and nurturing. It's really powerful. I would definitely recommend, if that's on anyone else's bucket list, to go do that, because it's like, I don't know, it's like one of those things, once in a lifetime. And I still want to go see them again from Alaska or Norway next time. But anyways, okay. I hope everybody's well. If you stayed to the end and you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please share it with people who may need to hear this message. And you could give this video some love with a comment. Help that algorithm send this video far and wide across the land. Okay. Hope everyone's well. I know it's intense out there. It's legit intense. So Remember to hydrate and get minerals like sea salt, Celtic salt. Take a little pinch of salt and drink your water. And get sun every day if it's available. Ground, bare feet on the earth. Say your prayers. Talk to divine. Talk to your spirit guides. Talk to your guardian angels. If you don't yet feel like you have a strong connection, just keep talking to them. And yeah, it's a blessing to walk this journey with each and every one of you. So much love. I hope you have a great day.